Please like, subscribe, and comment. It really helps this channel. Okay, so have you ever heard of the Bermuda Triangle? Or like those lost cities swallowed by the sea. Well, today we're doing a deep dive into a mystery that kind of rivals all of those.
Ooh, sounds intriguing.
It is. It is the Mary Celeste.
Oh, the Mary Celeste. Okay, I'm familiar.
Yeah, a real-life ghost ship. I mean, we're talking crew vanished like poof into thin air. And it's a story that's captured people's imaginations for like over a century.
Yeah, it's one of those enduring mysteries, isn't it?
It is. It is. And actually, this deep dive is for one of our amazing listeners who requested it. So, listener, this one's for you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so picture this. It's 1872. We're in the North Atlantic. Vast, unforgiving, you know the vibes.
Oh, yeah.
And the Dea Gratia, which is a British brigantine, comes across a ship just drifting aimlessly, just floating.
Spooky.
Right. And it turns out to be the Mary Celeste, which is an American brigantine. And this is where it gets really interesting. The Mary Celeste is totally fine.
Yes.
Seaworthy, sails are partially set, there are supplies on board.
Wait, what?
But the crew, gone, vanished. There's no sign of a struggle, no distress signal, just like this eerie silence hanging over this perfectly functional ship.
Okay, so you've definitely got my attention now. What's the deal? What happened?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And to help us chart a course through all of this, we have our expert on board right here. So what is it about this whole Mary Celeste thing that keeps fascinating people after all these years? I mean, why are we still talking about it?
Well, it's fascinating because it just throws out the rule book on all the typical sea disasters of the time. Think about it. 1800s, you've got storms, shipwrecks, pirates, all that classic stuff. Those were pretty much everyday events back then. But a perfectly good ship just abandoned. That's unheard of.
Right. It's like the ocean just decided to play this massive trick and leave us with this perfectly preserved mystery to solve.
It's like a puzzle with half the pieces missing.
Right. Exactly. And before we get into what actually happened on that last voyage, I'm curious about the ship itself.
Oh, okay.
The Mary Celeste, or actually, at first it was called the Amazon. Did it have a kind of strange history? A little peculiar?
You could say that. So the Mary Celeste, back then known as the Amazon, was built back in 1861 in Nova Scotia.
Okay.
And right from the get-go, it seemed to attract some bad luck.
Oh, no.
Yeah. First voyage, the captain died.
Ooh, talk about a bad sign.
It gets worse. The Amazon then has a whole bunch of accidents like collisions, running aground, even a pretty bad fire. It was so messed up at one point they almost wrote it off entirely.
So it was practically a shipwreck even before it became the shipwreck everyone knows about.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting. It's salvaged, right, repaired, and then they renamed it.
The Mary Celeste.
You got it. Now, back in the day, renaming a ship was seriously bad luck for sailors, unless you did this whole ceremony to, appease the sea spirits.
Right. So we've got a ship with this history of bad luck, a name change that might have upset a few, shall we say, nautical spirits. Starting to sound a bit spooky, isn't it?
Yeah, there's definitely a certain mystique around it, isn't there?
Definitely. But before we dive into any ghost stories, let's stick to the facts of that final voyage.
Right.
So who was on board the Mary Celeste when it set sail?
Okay. So in 1872, this guy, Captain Benjamin Briggs, he buys the Mary Celeste. He was a respected, experienced captain.
Okay.
Very religious, too, and a meticulous seaman. He's like, I'm going to captain this ship myself. And he brought his wife, Sarah, and their little girl, Sophia, who was only 2.
Wow.
And he also picked his crew carefully. 7 experienced sailors, men he trusted. These weren't newbies or troublemakers. These were seasoned sailors led by this captain known for being competent and really devout.
So you've got a family man, devoted captain, experienced crew, and they all just disappear.
Yep.
That's when it gets really mysterious, doesn't it?
It does. And to really understand how weird this is, we need to get into what the Dei Gratia actually found when they boarded the Mary Celeste.
Yeah. Okay. That scene must have been just, like, chilling. I mean, what did they find? What seemed really off?
Okay, imagine this. You come onto this seemingly abandoned ship.
Okay.
Sails are partially set. Some are even damaged, which means they probably had to change course quickly or maneuver really fast. The lifeboat's gone, so that suggests they evacuated in an orderly way, not like it was some chaotic event.
Okay.
On the deck, all the navigational stuff is in place. No real damage, no sign of a fight. You go below deck, you find personal things just lying around, like pipes, sewing stuff, even toys.
Wow.
Almost as if the crew just stepped away for a minute. But the really weird part, in the captain's cabin, you find the logbook, and it has normal entries up to November 25th. 9 days before they found the ship.
9 days just missing. Like they went through a time warp or something. That's crazy.
That's the mystery, isn't it? What happened in those 9 days?
Yeah. Okay, well, where do the theories start?
Well, one that always comes up, and it makes sense to start here, is the alcohol explosion theory.
Okay.
Remember, the Mary Celeste had 1,701 barrels of industrial alcohol.
Right. And alcohol, flammable. I get where you're going.
Exactly. So the theory goes that maybe some of those barrels leaked, filled the hold with these flammable vapors. Captain Briggs, he's worried about an explosion, so he gets everyone into the lifeboat
Okay.
to wait it out at a safe distance. Maybe the tow line snapped, they got separated from the Mary Celeste and then drifted away, lost at sea.
That makes sense. I mean, especially with the cargo they had. But here's the thing, right? The Dei Gracia reported absolutely no fire or explosion damage on this ship. So why abandon a perfectly fine ship if there wasn't an explosion?
You've hit the nail on the head. That's the big hole in that theory.
Right.
It doesn't explain why everything's so undamaged. You start to wonder if it was something else altogether, something even more powerful, even more unpredictable than an explosion.
Like what?
Like, well, the North Atlantic.
Oh, you mean like a rogue wave or one of those sudden crazy storms?
Exactly. A rogue wave that's a massive wall of water that just appears out of nowhere. It could swept everyone overboard, no trace. Or maybe a really sudden violent storm. They had to evacuate fast.
Makes sense.
And the North Atlantic, it's known for its unpredictable weather.
That's terrifying. I mean, especially back then with limited technology, they wouldn't have known it was coming. They'd be at the mercy of the elements. But wouldn't a rogue wave or a storm like that leave some sort of mark on the ship? You'd think there'd be damage, right?
You would think so. And here's where the Mary Celeste gets even weirder. It didn't have any significant storm damage.
Oh,
Cargo was undisturbed, personal belongings were dry, even the chronometer and sextant were fine. It's like they just vanished, leaving everything perfectly in place.
okay, so no fire, no explosion, no storm damage.
Yeah.
It's almost as if the ship was, I mean, this is going to sound crazy, but like they left on purpose. But why? And where would they go?
That's the question, isn't it? And it's the question that has puzzled everyone for over 100 years.
It's like the ultimate ghost ship mystery.
It is, and we'll look at some more theories, some more believable than others.
Okay.
But the Mary Celeste is definitely holding on tight to its secrets.
Well, let's see if we can uncover a few more of those secrets after the break.
So we've got this ship, right, just totally abandoned in perfect condition. And after they found the Mary Celeste, they sailed it to Gibraltar.
Gibraltar, okay.
Yeah. And there they had this salvage court.
Salvage court.
Yeah. So back then, maritime law said if you found a ship just floating around abandoned, you could claim some of its value.
Oh, so there was a reason to look for these ghost ships, like a finders keepers kind of thing.
Pretty much, yeah. But the Mary Celeste was so strange, so mysterious, that the whole court thing became a huge deal. Everyone wanted to know what happened to the crew.
Right.
There were all these rumors flying around, you know, like a cover-up, maybe foul play, even some supernatural stuff.
It's wild how the story just blew up, right? Like it took on a life of its own.
It did, and you know, it reminds you how strong a good story can be, especially when it taps into our fears of the unknown.
Absolutely. So what happened? Did they figure anything out at this salvage court?
Well, they ended up giving a chunk of the salvage money to the Dei Gracia's crew. But the mystery, that just kept getting bigger.
And what about the Mary Celeste? Did it ever sail again?
It did, yeah. They sold it and put it back into service. But this is where things get even weirder.
Okay, lay it on me.
The Mary Celeste, it kept having all this bad luck, changed owners a bunch of times over the next 12 years, and every new owner, well, they seemed to run into problems. Accidents, financial ruin, even death.
You're kidding. So it was almost like the mystery itself, like cursed the ship.
It's hard to say for sure, but sailors, they've always been superstitious. And the Mary Celeste, well, it had become the symbol of bad luck.
I can see why. It makes sense, right? People want explanations. They look for patterns. And when something's totally unexplainable, well, you kind of turn to superstition. It's like trying to make sense of the chaos.
That's exactly it. We love stories, we want explanations, and when we don't have them, we make them up. Our beliefs and fears, they shape how we see things. And with the Mary Celeste, the mystery just fed itself.
Right. The mystery made the bad luck seem even more real. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy almost.
Exactly. And you got to wonder about the guys who found the Mary Celeste, the crew of the Dei Gracia. I mean, how did that mess with them? Finding a ship like that, it must have been really unsettling.
I can't even imagine.
That's part of why the story's still so powerful. It makes us think about how much we don't know, the huge amount of stuff that's just out there beyond our understanding. Makes you wonder if there are things we'll never figure out.
Yeah, like we're not as in control as we like to think. Nature or maybe something else, something we can't even imagine, can just throw us a curveball. It's humbling, for sure.
For sure. And the Mary Celeste is a big reminder of that. But we shouldn't forget about how it all ended. All those years of bad luck, those whispers of curses, what finally happened to the ship.
Right, you were saying it ended in a way that's almost as strange as the ghost ship part of the story.
Yeah, so in 1885, 12 years after it was found abandoned, the Mary Celeste was wrecked on purpose off the coast of Haiti.
Wait, on purpose? So it didn't sink in a storm or anything?
Nope, get this, it was an insurance scam.
You're kidding. So the ship that's famous for disappearing was sunk on purpose to make money. That's almost poetic.
It really is, and it reminds us that there's a human side to this whole thing, too. We love the mystery, but there's also the story of people's ambition, greed, even desperation. The Mary Celeste, in the end, became part of a very human story.
It's true. Even with all the crazy stuff, it still comes down to...
Nope. They searched, they investigated, but they never found anything. It's like they just vanished. There have been rumors, of course, people saying they saw them, theories about pirates or a mutiny.
But nothing solid, nothing that really solves the mystery.
Nothing. The Mary Celeste stays a mystery, a puzzle with missing pieces. And maybe that's why we keep coming back to it. We want answers, we want explanations, but sometimes the best stories are the ones that don't have easy solutions.
It's like that old saying, the truth is out there.
Exactly. And as we wrap up our deep dive here, we're going to talk about why the Mary Celeste still fascinates us, why it still has this hold on our imaginations.
It's amazing, right? I mean, there's so much stuff out there about this one ship. Books, documentaries, even songs. The Mary Celeste is like a legend now, a myth almost. Why do you think this story, this ship, has stuck with people for so long?
It's that human need to figure things out, you know? We like things to make sense. We look for explanations. And when you get something like the Mary Celeste, something that's totally unexplainable, well, it shakes things up a bit. It makes you realize how much you don't know. Like there's this whole world out there that we might never understand.
It's like this clash between wanting to be in control and realizing that, well, nature, or maybe something else, has its own plans.
Right. So it's not just a ghost ship story anymore. It's about us, our curiosity, our need to find meaning, even when things are totally random. It's an invitation to look at history, not just to read about it, but to really try and figure it out. And maybe when there's no clear answer, the search is more important than the answer itself.
It's true. Sometimes the best stories are the ones that don't wrap everything up perfectly. The ones that keep you thinking. So, for our listeners who are now totally hooked on this whole Mary Celeste thing, let's go over the key points again. We've got a perfectly good ship, just drifting, no crew, half-eaten meals, the lifeboat's gone, a history of bad luck, and no signs of a fight or anything. It's a real-life ghost ship that's confused experts for over 100 years, and people are still debating it today. We've talked about the main theories, the alcohol explosion, a rogue wave, mutiny, pirates, even that insurance scam. But none of them really explain everything. It's like the fact that there's no evidence is the biggest clue. And to make it even weirder, the Mary Celeste was eventually sunk on purpose for an insurance scam. So the ship that became famous for being abandoned was deliberately sunk to make money. It's just bizarre. A huge thanks to our expert for guiding us through all this. This has been fascinating. I have to admit, I'm even more intrigued by the Mary Celeste now.
It was my pleasure. The Mary Celeste is one of those mysteries that never gets old. It reminds us that the ocean, and history itself, keeps its secrets. Some stories are just meant to be told over and over again, not for the answers, but for the questions they make us ask.
And to our listeners, we ask you, what do you think happened on the Mary Celeste? If you could go back in time, what clues would you look for? Tell us your thoughts in the comments. And please, like, subscribe, and comment. It really helps this channel. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the mystery of the Mary Celeste. Until next time, keep exploring. You never know what you might find.